Now that's how you do a sequel, especially for a film that was so monumental and for its time and original. It's a classic. You know, it's a classic film. It really is. There's a lot of people who like Blade Runner. Some people it's not their type of thing, but it was a very original film. And when the sequel got announced that they were going to do it, and when people started seeing trailers, I think a lot of people, including myself, were kind of like, you either get this right or we're going to feel like you shouldn't have done this at all. And then people will start feeling like that about any time you try to not just make a sequel to an old film that's considered a classic or has a cult following or something like that. But you got to get it right. You know what I mean? You got to do it justice, especially if it's very original. Because Blade Runner was original. The original was original. I remember being young. And I mean, the movie came out the year I was born, so I don't ever remember, like, hey, I want to go see that movie. But I remember being young, going into video rental places and seeing that there. I mean, it was Indiana Jones, it was Harrison Ford on the front of a movie that I've never seen before. But I loved him as Indiana. I loved him as Han Solo. Star Wars film, Star Wars, Indiana Jones. Come on now, grew up two of my favorite, franchises, film franchises. And I wanted to see it. I'm like, oh, it's a futuristic film. Like, what the heck is this? Then he has a gun on the cover of it, and it's flying cars and futuristic looking LA. And I'm just like, I gotta see that. But for some reason, as a kid, I never rented it. I always wanted to see it. I wanted to see it. And I remember them advertising Akira to American audiences when I was young, and they were saying it's better than Blade Runner. And I remember going, well, probably is, because it's a cartoon. There's so much more you can do that you can't do in live action and stuff like that. And if it came out after Blade Runner, well, it makes sense or something. That's how I felt as a kid, but I didn't even see Blade Runner. I saw Akira first before I saw Blade Runner. But the thing is, this movie, when I finally did see it, I knew I was watching something different. I heard people talk about it before. So when I finally watched it, I think it was right before I entered my teens, or I just entered my teens. I sat down and watched it. I was like, that was a lot different than I expected. It's not an action flick. It's not going to be a lot of shooting and sci-fi things happening. But what it is a future. People describe it as a futuristic noir film. It's a detective film set in a futuristic setting, but there are it's story driven. It's very heavy on story. And that's exactly what this sequel was. If you think that it's going to be over the top action, they're just trying to take everything they did in the original and one up it. They didn't do that. This didn't happen with the film, and it stuck to the roots of what the first movie was. There were some new things in this, but it wasn't too much. It wasn't too much. It was a proper sequel. It fits. Like, if there was 3 books, that feels like it would be, or 3 chapters within a book, it feels like it could be one of the chapters in the book, especially if it takes place years later, 30 years later. It just works. Now, the writers and also the director, I forgot his name, but he directed what was that movie with Emily Blunt and Benicio del Toro? What it was called? Sicario? Is that what it was called? And he also directed Arrival, which was okay. When I first saw it, I was like, hey, that's a really good film. But, looking at it again, I was just like, that's good. It's a good film. But he said he directed, or he wanted to direct Blade Runner because he didn't want anybody else messing it up. Obviously, he's a fan. And when you're a fan of something, like, let's take Star Trek, for instance, there's a lot of people that's going to be critical before they even see the movie. Sometimes people don't want things touched because they're like, if that's bad, it's going to ruin how I feel about the first movie, knowing that this is a continuation of the story, and just know that it has to be canon and it's all connected. And I'm like, we hate the last 30 years. We love the first, what happened 30 years before. People don't want anything being messed up. And I hope most people are pleased with this. I've heard the reviews. Didn't want to read too much because I didn't want any spoilers. I didn't want things being given away. And let's talk about that, bro. I don't even know if I want to talk about spoilers. I really don't. I just wanted to say what my overall general thoughts of the movie. Maybe I'll talk about some spoilers in like the last minute of this video. I don't know. But just getting on the topic of what they did in the film. Nowadays, if you got twists or surprises in films, people try to guess that stuff before the film even is in theaters, before they see it. When you show a trailer, they're trying to guess things. They're looking at behind the scenes photos. They're pausing, freeze framing trailers and previews and saying, I think this, that, and they're just guessing and guessing. And if you guess a million things, somebody's going to be right, or eventually you're going to be right. You guess 10 different things can happen, or 10 different things can happen with this character. yeah, one of them's gonna be right, and then people were like, "Told you so." But, yeah, you're guessing. There's no way you knew for sure, and this thing throws you for a couple of loops. Yeah, I mean, it really does. And the way they did it in this film, you almost got to do that nowadays because we've seen everything. So you can't just lead us up with one thing because we'll see it a mile away because we saw it in so many other films. There's so many films with twists, turns that were done excellent, some that weren't done so well, but they did a good job in this. They did a really good job with some things, and it made you second guess yourself. And then when you find out exactly what's going on completely, you're like, oh, all right, okay, yeah, they did this good. They threw us this way. We were thinking it's gonna go that way. It did go that way, but then it went back this way, and then it jumped over. You know, it was crazy, but they did a good job with what they did. And I have to say, I commend the writers and director on this because it felt like certain shots were shot just like they were in the first film. The music fits perfect. You could have, it's the movie was good. Just go see it. You're a fan of Blade Runner, go see this film. You know, and I have to say, first hour and a half of the film, you're sitting there, you're watching, taking everything in, and it was almost exactly an hour and a half into the film. Then something happens, and you're like, what? Jeez. And I didn't even see this or that or this or that yet. How's the rest of this gonna play out? And I like that they didn't throw a bunch of big action scenes in here. They didn't just try to, you know what they do with sequels sometimes, bigger, better, more what you got in the first one. They didn't do that. They kept the same tone, and that works for this. Now, I'm a fan of Blade Runner, so obviously I like this film. Blade Runner, the original, is still a better film in my eyes. I like it. This one, if it didn't get made, that would have been fine with me, to be honest with you. If they didn't make this movie, it would have been fine. But from what I saw, I liked it, and it was cool. It was good. I'm not mad. I'm not mad at all. I actually left the theater pleased. It pleased one of my most critical friends ever. This dude had a mind like critics on movies since we were in elementary school. I don't know how he was like that. We grew up in the 80s. You know, we had action films with cheesy one-liners all the time. So sometimes I didn't look at a movie saying, hey, the script wasn't right. I just wanted to be entertained. I grew up off those blockbuster films. So that entertains me. But as you get older, you start appreciating things like when I first saw Pulp Fiction, I couldn't stand it. Why was it jumping around out of order? And what the hell is going on? But I appreciate it later. And one of the things I came to appreciate really is paying attention to every single piece of dialogue in a film. And I just start liking films for other things other than just being stimulated visually with what I'm seeing or just laughing sometimes. And this film, Blade Runner 2049, it was top notch. I'm gonna give it like this isn't a bad score. I'll give 4 out of 5 stars because I was very fearful that this was going to turn out bad and it could mess up how you just look at the series as a whole because these two films are connected. But it was good enough. There are some things I would have done different, but that's like in every movie. You say I wouldn't have done that, whatever. But it pleased me enough. It's a really good movie. Even if it wasn't called Blade Runner and it wasn't connected, what they did in this movie could work good and it can turn out being a good movie. But can't touch the original. It's just something about knowing when a movie came out, what it did in that time era, and you know, just if it was original or not. How many other movies did it inspire? Have you seen anything else like it since then? You know, and that's why. And the first one was just good. I think it was good. I love the ending of the first one. I mean, well, there are multiple versions of the first movie, and I'm pretty sure I've seen the one that came out in theaters first. But I love the ending of that. You know, I don't know. But if you've seen Blade Runner 2049, leave some comments down below. Leave them down there and let me know what you think. I'd love to discuss this. I'm discussing it right now. My friend's texting me like crazy. And just go see the film. I don't want to talk about any spoilers. I don't really do spoiler reviews if I do a non-spoiler. So I'm going to just leave it as I like what they did with Ryan Gosling's character, Kay. Things that were said at the beginning of the film, like within the first 10 minutes, really lasted all the way through the film. I like what Deckard had going on, how he had to be, where he was, why he was there. What else? Just the replicants. I like the agendas some of them had going. I like the AI, the Ryan Gosling's character. Let's just call him Joe for now. The AI, the relationship with the AI reminded me a lot of this movie called Her, with Joaquin Phoenix and Scarlett Johansson voicing an AI that he was in love with, or operating system or something like that. And it was kind of futuristic, it's in not too distant future. But this was okay for certain reasons that you will find out about once you watch the film, and why Ryan Gosling, his life, how he lived his life and what he had going on, him having his relationship with an AI was cool, and you'll see why. You know what I mean? And it was an emotional film that was heavy on story, and I liked it. I liked it a lot. Can't touch my original Blade Runner, but I like this one a lot. Anyway, that's all I got. Blade Runner 2049. Go see the film. It's a proper sequel to a classic original film. It fits really good in there. I liked it.